Hello, my name is Sonali, and the title of this podcast is The Importance of Trusting Your Attorney. I would like to share a personal story that I feel highlights the necessity of this. Unfortunately, to provide context, we must first begin by mentioning Dr. X, as he plays an important role within this story. For confidentiality purposes, I am calling him Dr. X. This is the school psychologist, one of the school psychologists. At a time in my son's life where the people around him in an academic setting held huge influence over his progression, and at a time where he was particularly vulnerable, the damage and negative impact Dr. X inflicted through daily exposure to my son cannot be overstated. This man's constantly misplaced diagnosis and remarks derailed his confidence and growth. Coming from a cultural background where educators are held in very high regard, I had to trust him. And in another sense, these are expert classroom teachers, special education teachers. These are folks with PhD and PsyD behind their names. I had to trust them because this was a new whole idea, new whole situation that I was dealing with. I never had any experience with this was my first child. I knew that there were a lot of red flags, but I did not know how to confront or how to tackle these red flags because none of his strategies that I got when I consulted with both him and the classroom teacher on a regular basis, none of this worked at home. It was only having an adverse effect. My son within the school setting versus at home was heartbreaking. As a mother, you can only begin to imagine the angst and the heartbreak I dealt with in a daily basis. At times, anytime, a correspondent with anyone from school district would give me anxiety to that I cannot even describe. I did not sleep for months and months. I did not sleep. All I thought how to help him. Um, my gut as a mother was saying this is so many red flags, something was wrong, nothing is working. But these educators came from a very affluent and well respected school district. So I felt I had to trust their opinion, at least I have to try the strategies they're recommending for my son. Um, how can a school psychologist suggest what they're suggesting and they're all having negative result? At home nothing is working. Over time, as things continued to grow more toxic and stressful in his school environment and somewhat stressful at home, a number of events led us to hiring Tracy as our attorney. So many days, weeks, months, years spent worrying, and we finally had our opportunity to rectify the injustice our son has suffered. Following research and invaluable information provided by Tracy, I finally became aware of how many rights protected my son's education, and in tandem with this, how many of his rights were being violated by our school district. I'm about to share a story. Without giving too many details, Tracy was with us on that day. What I witnessed would completely transform my perspective on patience, the devastation on well placed comment against a tirade, and importance of trusting my attorney. On this particular day, I remember sitting myself between Tracy and my husband, having to physically sit down on my hands to stop myself from moving in agitation. All I wanted to do was stand in indignation and defend my son from the injustice of Dr. X's horribly incorrect statements. But I was well warned in advance that to speak out of turn would only hinder my son's case, and that I had to place trust on Tracy's voice. To trust her voice would be how I brought the fight. This man comes forward, and all I want to do is yell, hiss, and cry and interrupt and defend my son. As I watch him smug, and his mouth full of lies, he was also telling me that I am a liar. He came forward and started speaking on a subject that he was not an expert on. He was trying to prove that he did everything that he could do, and then some, and the district is not at fault. Tracy had one very specific question for him. She literally had one question. And that question threw this man off because he was not an expert. And Tracy knew what she's doing. Tracy always knows what she's doing. She not only knows what she's doing, she loves what she does. And I learned not only to trust Tracy and her strategies, I learned to trust my instincts again. And I also was absolutely sure that I am not only doing the right thing, that I'm fighting for my son's rights, I should say our son's rights, and the correct way. I'm doing the entire thing correct way. We chose the right professional to champion us, and at the end we got the results that we wanted.